Hi, it's Chris with Implied Music. What's a chorale? Why should I care? How can I use it? Chorale writing or part writing, soprano, alto, tenor, bass, four-part writing, is the foundation for harmony, how we teach harmony, in 19th century common practice. And while it may be a little academic, it's also practical. It's the foundation of good arranging in a way. A few simple tricks can get you on your way to using chorale writing to make your parts, your orchestrations, your music much better. Please listen to this. It's the orchestral version of the melody that we'll be looking at, and then the chorale writing that we'll be doing with it. Check it out. So here's the part. It's a lot of orchestral parts. How did I get there, as David Byrne says? Let's start at the beginning and unfold the origami. So here's my melody, and it's a pretty straightforward one. We're in C. I actually chose the first four notes from a famous Johannes Fuchs counterpoint study. Mozart uses it later in his own writing. It's kind of a powerful little melody, and then it continues, right? So first 1, 2, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 1. Well, the next step, once you get a melody you like, and of course that's a very intuitive thing. Do I like this melody? Maybe I do, maybe I don't, is to come up with chords. Here are my chords. It's sort of the Coldplay version of that melody, isn't it? My harmonic language is C, pretty straightforward, A minor, E minor, which is kind of lovely in that context, D minor, G or G7. Well, my challenge was to find a way to make each of those melodic tones have that chord or some version of a passing chord that's heading somewhere underneath it. And this is called first species, or the sort of the first step in chorale or part writing. And so you can see here, and let's blow it up a little bit so it'll be easier to visualize. Each of these moments is its own chord, and the melody is the lead. In chorale writing, they talk about the cantus firmus, the sort of foundational melody. Now, I had to make some passing chords. For instance, I discovered that just having a C chord didn't necessarily work. So take a look at what's happening here. Listen, and maybe we'll talk through it, because it's worth a little examination. Well, like I said, it's not just C, A minor, D minor, E minor, G. The first is definitely a C chord, but then this is a passing chord. There's a C in the bass, but I've got F, B, and D. And that really implies a kind of a G7 motion. And then this beat here is E7. And why shouldn't it be E7? E7 is the 5 of A. These kinds of things become more and more natural as you write more and more, but it's not rocket science. You look at the melody and you say, oh, that F, it's definitely going back down to E. I definitely have to push to A minor. So I'm going to play a E7 flat 9 chord here. It's a strong sound. You could analyze it as a diminished chord, and diminished chords, of course, are passing chords. Listen to how it lands on the A minor. So pretty. And then, of course, D minor. And more passing chords, more diminished chords. Diminished chords functioning as dominants that push us someplace. last moment is a sus chord to the G. Now, I'll just quickly jump over to show you something. This was Bach's 371 Chorale book, page 1. I just wanted you to see how these things look on the page. The soprano part at the top, the alto part underneath, tenor, and bass. Each voice has its own identity, and there are a bunch of rules involving it. This is like the height of chorale writing. But if you're writing for, say, 4 voices and it's just a simple song, you might be able to get away with something much simpler looking. Here, the harmony parts for a piece that I was working on for a Shakespeare play recently. And the motion is not nearly so involved, really just outlining the chords with a little bit of motion. Well, once I've kind of established how my simple closed voicings are going to work, my next thing is to just port those over to some strings. So here's the same arrangement on strings. And this is a simple section string Albion Neo arrangement. I'm not doing any work with expression or anything like that. It's just to hear how it sounds. And it's not terrifically satisfying, isn't it? The closed voicings really don't work. The registers for each of the instruments are not so great. But I am kind of just bringing over that arrangement, and the harmony is okay. Every orchestral section has violins 1 and 2, viola, cello, and then double basses. Frequently, the cello and the double basses are in octaves, and that's what I've done here. You can see a C there and a C down there. I realized I wanted to take the violin parts up an octave, and the net result is much more beautiful. I like the strings. I like the expansion. Dropping the bass down fills it out nicely. And then what about winds? Well, I'm going to have the winds double the high strings, and I'm also going to have a low wind part. All of these notes are taken only from the chorale writing that I did on the piano. Simple melody, find the chords, expand it. Now let's add brass, doubling the bass. Love the brass. And with this version of it, I took the notes that were repeated in the brass part, in the bass part, in the winds, and just extended them so there aren't so many articulations. Well, the next thing I thought to myself was, well, I'd love to double the melody with piano, just to bring it out more. And we're also hearing a little percussion. And that's the thick version of it. I've gone from a sketch of a melody I liked, to a simple version of it with supported block chords. Not very sophisticated. The next question is, how can I get one of those chords under each of those melodic tones? First species harmony. From there, it's just a question of how do I hand out those notes to the other instrumental parts? It involved a couple of things: changing the ranges of some instruments, selecting carefully which voices were given to the brass or woodwinds, and then finally, at the end there, reinforcing some elements that needed a little extra oomph. I wanted to reinforce the melody. I wanted to reinforce some of the, how to put it, just the accents, right? Accented with percussion. It feels a little bit like Elgar to me, and that's appropriate because it's graduation time. It can seem academic, right? Talking about graduation, this kind of part writing, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. There are some rules about how voices move. But I think that we should just get started trying it. I think that if you have a melody and you have some chords that you like, ask yourself, could I do this as a chorale? And if I did, how could I then use that beautiful arrangement? It's just a test in an orchestration, expanding it outwards to get yourself epic sound that's broad and big and just really kind of satisfying. Well, I hope this has been useful. Like and subscribe, ding the bell. You'll be notified when I do my videos, and I'll see you next time.